Hello all, and thank you, Mr. Lomax, for being such a gracious host. For those of you who don't know me, I'll take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Amy Culbertson. I was married to Ron McCurdy, and I lived in Cincinnati for almost 30 years. For many of those years, I was entertainment editor for the Cincinnati Post, a position I also held later at the Detroit Free Press. Those years allowed me to become intimately familiar with the jazz scene in Cincinnati and the Midwest, both as a journalist and as a fan. In other words, I hung out a lot. It's a pleasure to be back in a city where I spent so many happy years, and I'd like to say that it's wonderful to see some old friends here for this ceremony. The most deserving musicians are often the last to be recognized with awards because they care so much more about the music than about promoting themselves. They are the kind of musicians who consider music in general, and jazz in particular, a collaborative and not a competitive art. They're the kind of musicians who believe strongly, as Ron did, that their music should speak for itself. And it does for those with ears to listen for it. More than with any award, Ron's legacy rests with the music he played over his 50 years in the Cincinnati jazz scene, and with the appreciation of his peers who played it with him, and those fans who knew what to listen for. Nonetheless, I know that this award would have meant a great deal to Ron, and I'm extremely gratified to accept it posthumously on his behalf. I would like to thank the 2023 Jazz Hall of Fame selection panel, Lynn Scott, Joe Lukasik, and particularly Michael Sharfe. I'd also like to express my appreciation to the behind-the-scenes folks responsible for producing this event. Doug Lillibridge, producer, Paul Gibby, for working with me so patiently to make sure Ron would be accurately represented on the website and in the program, Shar Jackson, for shepherding the inductees and for her work on the reception, Rick Andrus, for making sure we hear the performances the way they're supposed to be heard, and Mount St. Joseph's Mark McCafferty, facilities manager, and Alvin Wallbillig, lighting and sound. I would also like to extend special thanks to the Wayne Yeager Trio for the music we're hearing tonight and for planning a thoughtful and heartfelt tribute to Ron, which will happen after I get through here. Ron saw every gig, no matter where or with whom, as an opportunity to make the best music possible, and secondarily, as an opportunity to make his fellow musicians laugh. As those of you who knew him know, just as he was faithful to his friendships and his loves, he was passionately faithful to his first and last love, music. Ron was able to ply his craft at a time when jazz in general and the Cincinnati jazz scene in particular was at its height, and he considered himself very lucky to have been afforded that opportunity. It was a time when jazz was created and communicated in the clubs and not in classrooms, a time when there were places to play that respected both the musicians and the audiences. He was also lucky in terms of the players who shared those stages with him. As I mentioned earlier, jazz is among the most collaborative of arts, and no one felt that more deeply than Ron, so much so that he did not even seek out drum solos. To him, the holy grail of music was that moment when the whole transcended the sum of its parts. It was Ron's goal every time he sat down behind the drums to do everything he could to take the band to that level. Though he was proud of having played with legends like Lester Young, Duke Ellington, Ben Webster, Cannonball Adderley, and Sonny Stitt, Ron's most treasured musical connections were to the peers he made music with on local stages, night in and night out. Like Ron, many of those people who helped create Cincinnati's vital jazz scene and with whom he most loved playing are gone from us now. Those fellow musicians were his soulmates, his brothers, his partners in sublime crime: Curtis Pegler, Lee Tucker, Billy Brown, Hickey Kelly, Jamal Halbert, Champ Childress, Kenny Poole, Al Norai, Frank Vincent, Alex Siren, Jimmy McGarry, Shirley Jester, Bill Berry, Gordy Brisker, Larry Kinley, Jerry Van Blair, Eddie Morgan, Ann Chamberlain, Joe Gaudio, Al Kiver, and many others. I know Ron would want to join me in remembering and celebrating them today and in dedicating this award to them. Thank you.
For those of you that never knew Ron, there was an awful lot of laughter on the stage. So we won't be doing that tonight, but we might. But Ron was a crack-up, and he lifted our spirits all the time. And there was nobody like him. He was an Irish maniac in a subtle way. Yeah.
Frank Powers called him an Irish marching band.
Did he?
Yeah.
Frank Powers, a famous horn player, clarinet player, called him an Irish marching band. That's pretty good. Wow. That's strong.
It was love.
Yeah. We love you, Ron. And we put this together to feature, frame it with some drums, for Ron. Thank you.